2, 1.
Keep pushing. Fertig. In this lap. You can do it. It's 4.7 seconds. 5.6 seconds.
It's a one of a kind, only the DTM.
Yes, man, you did it.
Thank you, guys.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah!
Hello and welcome to the Hockenheimring. It is the final race weekend of the DTM season 2015 and we are excited because it is freezing cold, but surely it's going to be a hot race weekend. And with me is Bernd Schneider. As a 5-time DTM champion, you certainly know the feeling that Pascal Wehrlein is probably feeling at the moment because he is leading the championship. He's got comfortable 37 points ahead, but what do you think is going on through his head right now and what does he have to focus on now?
I think he's got big advantages, pretty young. I don't think he's thinking too much about the race. And on the championship, he just want to go forward. Now 13th place is not the place he expected in qualifying, but he got quite a heavy car. And I think he's only 1/10 of front row. I mean, that's not much. I think everything is still happening and I'm pretty comfortable that he will get in the points and will make the points what's necessary to win the championship.
All right, well, we'll see. Thank you very much, Bernd Schneider. And now, before we start here, let's have a look back at the race weekend at Nürburgring. Dave?
At Nürburgring, BMW initially built on its winning streak from Oschersleben. RMG driver Maxime Martin dominated the 15th season round after a restart in the opening stages and hardly came under pressure during the remainder of the race.
At the end, I could extend the lead and control the race and win it.
For the first time this season, all three brands were represented on the podium, as Audi driver Eduardo Mortara and Mercedes driver Pascal Wehrlein filled the remaining podium slots. Wehrlein extending his lead in the driver's standings. On Sunday, there was a first. In his 67th DTM race, Catalan Miguel Molina scored his maiden DTM race win, having claimed pole position in a dominant way in qualifying. He pulled clear from his rivals in the race from the start.
I've been along so many times in the pole position and I could not make it happen at the end. And today was perfect.
For Pascal Wehrlein, the race on Sunday was an emotional roller coaster ride. A tough fight with Augusto Farfus with a happy ending. The 20-year-old drove his Mercedes across the finish line in 5th place in spite of various problems and again scored valuable points for the driver's standings. Matthias Ekström, Wehrlein's fiercest rival until the race, failed to score any points by finishing 11th. From 17th place on the grid, the Swede still made progress and was in the point-scoring positions at times. In the final third of the race, Ekström was stuck behind Daniel Juncker-Deya's Mercedes until the finish. Prior to the season finale at Hockenheim, Wehrlein is leading with the comfortable margin of 37 points from Mortara and 38 points from Ekström. So following the recap then of Nürburgring, as we look at P4 in the championship, Bruno Spengler, who's starting way down the order on P18. It's the championship this year going right to the wire, the very final round. The last two races here at Hockenheim as we look at the current champion, Marco Wittmann. Also well down the order in P16 in the Ice Watch liveried BMW M4 DTM. Contrast this season for him to last season. Alongside me is David Addison, and as we see Marco remove his jacket there and get ready to get into the car. 2 seasons are incomparable, really, aren't they?
In so many ways, and BMW looking to win the Manufacturers' Championship, even though we've been saying during the year they've not had great results. But there, Pascal Wehrlein, who is on the brink of being DTM champion, if he can stay ahead of Ekstrom and Mortara and Spengler in this race, he will win the championship in this race, but there's a lot to do. Let's hear from the pole position man, because Maxime Martin is down on pole position. Let's go to the grid and join Verena.
Maxime, fantastic job you did in the qualifying. You're smiling, obviously, because pole position is a perfect position. And it's going really, really well for you. But considering the fact that it's going so well for you in the end of the season, do you wish the season wouldn't end tomorrow?
Yeah, it is clear. But at the end, you know, like it is, it's racing, and we had some up and downs. But it's going up now, so it's really good. And yeah, the focus now on the race. It will be a long race, but at the end, we will try to score maximum points for BMW, which we are fighting for the title, and yeah, and see where we can finish this race.
All right, well, best of luck for the race, and who knows, maybe Maxime will get his second win this year. So best of luck for him, and now back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Well, we will see. Time will tell. Here is the grid, and we've just seen the man that is on pole position. And Timo Schuyler, a brilliant qualifying from him to go to P2.
Miguel Molina has had 1 win. Can he have a second this year? He's third on the grid alongside Paul di Resta.
Paul di Resta, the best Mercedes to show. Then it's 2 Audis together with Jamie Green and Mike Rockenfeller on the next row of the grid.
Behind them, you get Matthias Ekstrom with work to do, and Osserschleben winner Tom Blomqvist starts 8th.
It's the shorter race of the 2 this weekend. It sees Eduardo Mortara P9 and Lucas Auer P10.
And then 11th is where you find Antonio Felix da Costa. He's been a winner this year. Gary Paffett, 12th, yet to win this season.
Championship leader, only qualified in P13 with work to do for sure, and Augusto Farfus is alongside him.
Adrian Tombé's had a pretty ropey season. What can he do from 15th? And the reigning champion, Marco Wittmann, is 16th.
Then we see Maximilian Gertz, who looked really good at Nürburgring. Can he repeat that this weekend? And Bruno Spengler with him too.
Robert Wickens is a long way back, 19th, and Nico Müller's Audi will start 20th.
Then we see XF1 star Timo Glock with Martin Tomczyk there, P21 and P22.
And the back row is Danny Junqueira back after food poisoning, and Christian Vitores alongside him. Let's hear from Uli Fritz of Mercedes. He's with Verena.
He certainly is. So Pascal Wehrlein, the leader of the championship, is only starting in P13. So do you have a good strategy to get him into the front, into the points? And also, how difficult is it, or is it going to be for him to start in the middle field?
Yeah, I think that is something we have not wished for and not voted for, that is clear. But in DTM everything is so close and so tight, and yeah, you have to take it as it comes. However, I think we will try to make the best out of it. After the first 2 or 3 corners we will know more, and yeah, then we can have a look at the race and look how we can help him.
And quite frankly, Pascal looked pretty calm. You seem very calm, but it's all about the title. This is the weekend. So what's going on really inside of you?
Maybe that's more the show. I think we're pretty nervous about it, but I think that's natural and that's also healthy. So yeah, we'll really try to make it happen. And yeah, we have still 2 races, long time to go. And DTM is so close, everything can happen. So stay focused, stay concentrated, and then go from there.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Uli Fritz, and now back to you.
Thank you, Verena. Well, he kind of didn't say anything that I didn't expect him to say, to be honest with you, except that beneath that calm exterior, I'm sure they are really, really stressed and anxious, because clearly Pascal Wehrlein is not on the grid where we would have expected him to be, or where he would like to be, David.
But the key words, I think, were how we can help him, we being Mercedes. And team orders do happen in DTM, we know that. They will certainly happen over these next 2 races, as the brands need to get their best scorers up into challenging positions. So don't be surprised in these last couple of races of the year if you find the old sacrificial lamb, because titles are at stake here. Now it's important. Mercedes has got to get Wehrlein as far up the order as possible.
But in fairness, when you look at the order in front of him, who has he got in terms of help? Paul di Resta, potentially. Lucas Auer, potentially. Gary Paffett. There's a lot of other brands' cars ahead, that's for sure. So it's going to make the task ever more difficult for Mercedes-Benz, that's for sure. As we look at P7 on the grid, Matthias Ekstrom, P3 in the championship, of course. It's a lovely heli shot of the Hockenheimring, and here is just a repeat of the grid and repeating what I said really with regards to the brands that are ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. You can see the front page there, the top 12 in qualifying, before we get to see the championship leader Pascal Wehrlein there at the top of the second page, going from P13.
What's going to be interesting, I think, Dave, is how, let's take Mercedes as an example first of all, is how they're going to implement any team strategy here, because we talk about the need to get, in Mercedes' case, Wehrlein, if you take Audi, Mortara and Ekstrom up the order.
Yeah.
But do you do that by having other cars holding others up, delaying them, letting the other drivers catch the pack and overtake, or do you do it by your guys just giving up their places and dropping back behind you? There are different ways that they can play this. Now, in Mercedes' case, do they, for example, get Paul di Resta to try and keep the Audis at bay, and do they let the others get out of the way and let Wehrlein move up? And so when he's got through the rest of the pack, then he's closer to the opposition, which is being stacked up by Paul di Resta. There are all these different ways that they could look at the strategy, and that may have to change after the first lap when we know who is where, and indeed over the course of the race. And this will be going through the mind of Dieter Gas from Audi as well, and he's on the grid with Verena.
So Dieter Gas, you certainly had a very good qualifying, that's for sure. However, the championship contenders, Eki and Mortara, are only in P7 and P9. So now the question is, how can you get them in the front? And also, if I can quote Eki, he said he's not expecting his colleagues to drive 10 seconds slower to wave him by. So the question is, do you have a good strategy?
Well, I hope so, obviously. I think foremost for us it's very important that we have 6 Audis in front of Pascal Wehrlein. So that's the number one. After that, we just have to rely on our performance, have to do the best that we can. And I'm sure that Matthias and Edo, they will not lack the support from their teammates.
Thank you very much. Best of luck for the race, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Interesting to hear from Dieter Gas there. And going back to what you were saying, David, of course, the various strategies that could play out, there's dangers in each, isn't there?
Exactly, because you end up in a pack and you can control your race, but you can't control the opposition. And factor BMW into this, who Bruno Spengler is effectively out of the hunt. This is how the championship is. Bruno is fourth. Mathematically, he could win the championship, but that depends on an awful lot of bad luck for the others, and indeed them emigrating largely. So he's got very much an outside chance. Miguel Molina there lines up third on the grid, and he's going to be a man to watch in terms of race pace. But it'll be interesting to see at the end of lap 1 where Ekstrom and Mortara are in the order, because then I think we'll start to see what Audi are going to do to get them up the pecking order. And indeed the same is true of Mercedes. But heaven forfend that at the first couple of corners there'd be contact.
Ooh.
And any of the championship people ought to be, for example, run wide or lose places. Everything will all change again. And BMW would like a race win with Maxime Martin. It wants the manufacturer's crown. And Jens Marquardt of BMW is with Verena.
So Jens Marquardt, now was fantastic qualifying for Maxime, that's for sure. Pole position. However, are you also a little disappointed? Because, I mean, Bruno theoretically was still fighting for the title, but now I guess starting in P18, that's kind of not happening anymore? Or what's going through your head right now?
Well, I think qualifying was really difficult for a lot of guys today, and I think we have a very interesting grid. So we're obviously happy with Maxime on pole, and we'll see what the race brings. All our guys have to score maximum points for us, and this is what we are trying to achieve, and we'll see how that goes.
I'm sure it's going to be exciting. Best of luck for the race. Thank you very much, Jens Marquardt. And with me now is Dr. Stefan Sommer, CEO of ZF Sachs. Now, you provide the clutches, and now especially at the start of the race, what's so important about the clutches? And of course, what do also, maybe we can just start walking off the grid while we talk. What do the drivers have to focus on most exactly at the start?
Now at the start they have to focus on controlling the clutch to get a good position to the race. So this is what we are proving here in racing, and then of course for the volume production of our technology for the end user.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm sure we're expecting a very exciting race, right?
Thank you very much. Good luck for BMW.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Sommer, and now let's get the race started. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yes, start is going to be crucial. Always is.
Keeping out of trouble is going to be important. Always is as well, I would suggest.
They load those clutches with the power ready to launch the cars away from the grid. Well, shortly the cars will be on their formation lap, and well, the final weekend for DTM season 2015 about to get underway. And what a qualifying from Maxime Martin, and I know I've rolled on about this. I also think it was supreme qualifying from Timo Scheider, who's had a torrid year in many ways.
And he's looked good all weekend. He was good in free practice as well. But Maxime Martin on a roll after his win at the Nürburgring. And there is the DTM Champions Trophy that they are going to be fighting for to a lesser degree in this race, because the chances are that it will go down to the longer pit stop race tomorrow. But you never know. It could be decided in this race if Wehrlein can get himself ahead of all of the championship opposition. That means he would have to be ahead of Mortara, Ekstrom and Spengler. Well, Spengler is behind him. You never know how the team strategies could play out here.
This is going to be a real test for Pascal, isn't it? And to see, under the enormous pressure that he is, he has a reasonable cushion in the points, but it isn't enough. And it will be very, very interesting to see how this race plays out. It's going to be full of drama, full of action. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Let's just throw the weights into the mix very quickly. Wehrlein, as you look at the grid once more, has the heaviest car on track. He's the only driver to have 1130 kilos as the weight. Ekstrom and Mortara have 1127.5, so fractionally lighter.
Yeah.
But just to illustrate part of the weight-corrected pace, Maxime Martin is in one of the 3 lightest cars. He's on 1112.5, so that's the limited weight, the base weight, and that is carried by him, Adrian Tombay and Martin Tomczyk. So Maxime Martin, yes, it was a good qualifying, but don't forget he's in one of the 3 lightest cars on the grid.
But I think to make more of his success, when you look at Tombay and look at Tomczyk, who are in the same weighted cars,
they know
where are they on the grid in comparison to Maxime Martin? Sorry, it sounds like I'm blowing wind into Pascal Wehrlein's, into Maxime Martin's success in qualifying, but I do think that we should make that point that, yes, he has got a very light car, but so have others.
Absolutely, and Tomczyk's on the penultimate row. Tombay's a long way back. Pascal Wehrlein struggling with the radio to the team, and I think he's trying to get on top of that.
I can hear you loud and clear.
The team can hear Pascal Wehrlein. Can Pascal hear his engineer? That's the last thing he needs on the green flag.
It is rather.
Yet another problem to sort out.
Pascal, 1, 2, can you hear me? Copy.
Okay.
Right, so that problem solved. Good, right.
We can tick that box now.
That box.
Communications are there.
Yeah.
On board with Eduardo Mortara, just making final adjustments to the brake bias there, the windmill effect that you see there. He's touching just the brake bias as the cars make their way into their grid boxes right now. Maxime Martin, of course, the man that's got to wait the longest.
But also, he's the one driver at the front of the grid who doesn't have to think about a championship particularly. Bruno Spengler, so far back, he's almost immaterial. Scheider, then Molina, they could be sacrificial lambs for Audi. Then you've got De Resta, Green, Rockenfeller. They may have to give up places as well.
Stop. That's his engineer guiding him into his grid box. Pascal Wehrlein going into this race leads the championship. He's a long way down the order, going from P13 with his 2 arch enemies in the championship ahead of him. We get a green flag from the marshal at the rear of the pack. The lights are on. When the lights are off, we're away and racing. It was a good start from Martin, a poor start from Molina. Jamie Green and Paul de Resta get ahead of him.
And a bad start by Ekstrom, who has gone down the pack. He's lost about 5 places on the run towards turn 1. Jamie Green goes wide, Mortara goes wide and makes contact with Molina. That's not in the plan. De Resta battling with Jamie Green, but Ekstrom has had a dreadful start. They had a practice start period early on at the end of free practice, and he didn't do a grand job then either, but Ekstrom has lost out badly. Tombay is in strife, and Wehrlein was delayed in that as well. Wehrlein has dropped down the order. There's a yellow up at turn 2 because Tombay is off the road. He was behind Wehrlein on the grid, and it looks like the 2 may have got themselves together as now Martin is under pressure. Scheider looks for a way by as they head towards the Spitzkehrer. Green is 3rd, and then 4th is De Resta. Paffett's got damage, look from running up against Ekstrom off the grid, but Ekstrom is way, way back.
We're on board with Pascal Wehrlein, who's trying to fight his way up the order here. As you said, perhaps involved in that Adrian Tombay incident. There's Jamie Green and Paul de Resta, and then the rest of the pack.
It's advantage Mortara at the moment because, look, Ekstrom and Wehrlein are together but out of the points, and there's contact as Wehrlein gets into the back of Ekstrom, but up the inside goes Tomczyk, so Wehrlein loses out as they head down towards the stadium.
Paffett past Molina now as they're into this stadium section, and Wehrlein has got past Matthias Ekstrom.
And wide goes Mortara, and 3 wide as they work their way through the sacked curve now. So Mortara, having had the advantage in terms of points a couple of corners back, he's losing out. Has he got a problem? He has, I think, because past him now, look, has gone Gertz. He's got a problem. He's heading for the pit lane. Mortara's Mortara's got a problem. Now, has there been a bit of contact on that lap? Either way, Mortara down the pit lane. Has he got a puncture maybe? It looks low on the left, on the right front rather. I reckon Mortara's got a puncture.
I reckon you're absolutely right.
Right, so contact between Molina and Mortara, and that's done for Eduardo Mortara's chances.
Mortara went to the pit.
Pascal Wehrlein being advised.
He gets the message, and 16th at the end of lap 1.
Max attack.
Race leaders together, Scheider to the outside of Martin as they head to the Spitzkehrer. Scheider trying to find a way through into the lead of the race, but Martin is defending. He's going to have to defend a lot more strenuously than that, though, because Scheider gets the run on the way down to the Mercedes arena, and they're absolutely level, and the Audi gets his nose in front. Scheider should be the leader when they get to the next corner, because he'll have the inside line, I think. But let's see, we look at the rest of the pack coming through, but have we had that change for the race lead? On board with Wehrlein now, trying to creep his way back up the order.
That was a brilliant move by Scheider. He just got the momentum, hadn't he? And he remained absolutely committed to it. But we're staying with Pascal Wehrlein. And yes, Scheider is in the lead. He has got past Maxime Martin. So it's now Scheider, Martin, Green, De Resta.
There'll be some big discussions at Audi after that first lap, won't there? Because Mortara and Molina making contact has certainly spoilt the chances of Mortara. Gertz has had damage. Look, the doors flapping on the right-hand side of the car now.
Keep on going. We have a long ways to go. 26 laps to go, Pascal.
Whoa! Into the side of Tomczyk goes Wehrlein. Well, he's got the place, but has that done damage to the Mercedes? That was pretty robust. Through he goes.
Tomczyk is coming back at him. They're side by side. Daniel Gadella right behind. It's Robert Wickens right behind, but Tomczyk gets that place back.
Now, has that damaged the aero of Wehrlein's car? Look, it doesn't handle so well. He's all up the curb coming out of turn 1. There you've got Wickens trying to defend, but Ekstrom is trying to buy into this as well. And there's contact as Wickens gets into Ekstrom and turns him around. Ekstrom is back on track. He'll be absolutely furious.
Spun behind you. Ekstrom spun behind you.
Wow.
Ekstrom spun behind you only tells half the story. Ekstrom knocked into a spin is the truth of the matter, isn't it? So it's going to be, I suspect, a rather fractious press conference among the manufacturers at the end of this, because things are certainly not being done in the most genteel of ways.
No.
Up front, Timo Scheider leads the way, but Matthias Ekstrom did not spin on his own there, did he?
No, there was definite assist, and wow, there's no surprise. That little incident is under investigation. Out goes Paffett.
And Molina. Looks like Molina's Audi, I think, that's gone with him.
Copy.
There's damage, debris all over the road.
Drive, just retire, please. Retire. Be careful not to put debris all over the place. Car is very damaged. We have to retire.
Safety car is deployed, Matthias. The safety car is deployed.
Right, safety cars for all the debris on the road.
Tires okay? Question.
Well, this is going to bunch them all up.
No grip at all, that's the problem. It's like ice.
Whoa, interestingly, no grip at all. It's like ice.
Copy. Work them now hard in the safety car period. Work them really hard.
Now here was the Wehrlein Tomczyk scuffle. Have a look behind, because Ekstrom is there. Now Wickens needs to keep Ekstrom behind him. But up at turn 2, well, that's too late, really. The incident has already happened. That's the aftermath, because he's spinning as he comes into frame. But Wickens had lost out in terms of Ekstrom having the run up and getting past him. Here it is from another angle. So Ekstrom goes through. He is ahead. Wickens locks up, gets into the Audi, turns it around. There will, of course, be the odd cry in the pit lane of, well, remember Spielberg, because of what happened there, Audi versus Mercedes in the summer. But this is how Ekstrom saw it. He's got his nose in front, and bang. So yes, as Dave said, that incident is under investigation. So what has it done to the order? It's put Ekstrom down to 20th. Gary Paffett out of the race with damage after tangling with Molina. And Gary, once again, is a frustrated driver. Now, we haven't seen the start of the tangle. Alex Zanardi here is a guest of BMW. He may have an opinion on that, which looks... Again, that's part 2 of it. You didn't see the start. Whoops, Farfus gets involved. So that's a very badly damaged BMW that crab-like comes back through shot. And Wehrlein steers his way around it, but it did look as though Molina had slithered into Paffett. Turned them both round, didn't it?
Yes, I agree. Well, that means that we've lost Paffett. We lost Tombe earlier on. I would think with the clattering alongside, we're going to lose Farfus as well. There's Molina going around. so much debris on the track. And
yeah. I mean, that's why the safety car is out, because if you pick that up, you're going to get the risk of a puncture. Mortara, after the pit stop, is in last place, but of course he'll get back onto the crocodile here. He's 22nd, Ekstrom is 20th, and Wehrlein is 14th. They're all out of the points. Now look at Ekstrom's really bad start. He bogs down, so straight away, look, he tries to defend, and Paffett gets up against the pit wall. That's where he suffered damage. He gets crowded. Auer suffered as well. Jamie Green goes way wide at the first corner. But Ekstrom's start is just sluggish. He bogs down again, and then he tries to defend, causes that concertina up against the pit wall, but he's losing place after place after place there.
Yes, cars just going by, and you can see the reaction time on the left-hand side of the screen there. Eki was by far and away the worst.
At the start, reaction time on the graphic showing who was good and who was not so good. Wehrlein not so quick.
No, you're quite right.
Glock a bit sluggish as well, but nothing wrong with Maxime Martin's getaway. And then Torbay rotates, Wehrlein delayed. Robert Wickens has to bail out of that. This is how Wehrlein saw the first corner. So he wasn't that good off the line.
No.
Look, he's lost 2, 3, 4 places maybe. He's on the back of Spengler there, going into turn 1. He's wide over the curb, but there just isn't the real physical room for all the cars on the first lap, so track limit's not so much a problem on lap 1. Now, what happens to Torbay? Does he get a tap, or does he lose it? Yep, there's a tap from Spengler, and Wehrlein's on the outside, so he just has to try and steer around it.
Yes, and that...
Spengler's view. So a decent getaway by Bruno Spengler, and let's see, as he's got the recovering Ekstrom up the inside, Spengler brakes. It's always a crowded house going into turn 2. I don't think that was deliberate on Torbay. He just couldn't quite get the car slowed down in time, but it was a bit clumsy. Safety car will be in this time, so we're going to go back to racing. And the Mortara-Molina conversation post-race would be an interesting one, I reckon.
I think you might be right. So lights out on the safety car. That means it's down to Team Moscheida then to back them all up. Maxime Martin will fancy his chances here of anticipating. Timo Scheider's anticipating when they're going to go again, because of course Timo Scheider is controlling that, and Jamie Green looking very, very lively as well. Scheider goes, floors it, leaves Martin in his wake, and Jamie Green right on the back of Maxime Martin as they head towards the timing line now, and the race resumes with just on 30 minutes left to race.
So Scheider leads the way, Maxime Martin second, and now having to play this rearguard action. There's also the incident between Spengler and Torbay from lap 1 under investigation as well. So the leaders work their way out of turn 1. What progress now can Ekstrom 19th, Mortara 21st make? We have lost Farfus with the damage into the pit lane, but now Timo Scheider looks as though he's going to be able to get away, and Robert Wickens gets a drive-through penalty for pushing another car.
Well, perhaps we're not surprised by that. Pascal Wehrlein has got to try and find a way past Martin Tomczyk, who quite clearly is going to make that BMW as wide as possible. Lucas Auer going for a move on Bruno Spengler.
And there is Wehrlein trying to go around the outside as well. He won't be attacked by Vitoris, will he? So
no.
He doesn't have much to lose by trying, unless he just gets himself in a mess and goes off the track. And Tomczyk has nothing to gain by letting him bite. This is a genuine battle for position. So Tomczyk out of the hunt as far as the championship is concerned. He's going to make Wehrlein's life difficult. Now, behind them, of course, Ekstrom and Mortara trying to chip their way up the order. Ahead of Ekstrom is Nico Müller's Audi. That should be a relatively straightforward pass, I would have thought.
So we focus on this battle then between Martin Tomczyk and Pascal Wehrlein at the moment. The championship prediction, as you can see, is on the screen. And still following Martin Tomczyk, whose ever-wide BMW will prove problematic for Pascal Wehrlein to get past. Here is our race leader, though, Timo Scheider, who is gapping Maxime Martin now, and Maxime Martin is having to consciously think about the Jamie Green car behind him. There's Lucas Auer. And Bruno Spengler gets a drive-through penalty for pushing another car. So that for the Adrien Tombay incident, and here comes Robert Wickens to serve his drive-through penalty.
Bear in mind that if they all finish out of the points, which they are going to do at the moment, then there are insufficient points available for Mortara or Ekstrom tomorrow. So if things stay as they are, it's going to give the championship to Wehrlein. This is a replay of the Scheider versus Martin battle. And Timo Scheider, we saw the start of the move, we didn't see the end of it, so he gets the inside on the run now, down towards turn 7.
Ooh.
Bit of a twitch, but he secures it. He'd done it all by turn 8, so good brave past that. Fast part of the circuit as well, and now Scheider is getting away. Martin, despite being in a lighter car, falling back into the clutches of Jamie Green.
I think you're right. So, now, what should make Pascal Wehrlein's progress much easier is the fact that Tomczyk is going to be up against Lucas Sauer and also Daniel Juncker ahead. In the meantime, there is the race leader, Timo Scheider, driving really well. Maxime Martin, P2. Then it is Jamie Green, who is P3. As we see the championship leader come into picture now, still behind that Martin Tomczyk car. Matthias Ekström trying to make his way up the order as well and trying to get past Daniel Juncker.
And of course, in this race, no pit stops, so you haven't got a strategy to call into play from the pit stops. Ekström's got to do this now pretty much on his own, and insufficient teammates around him to really help the case. So it's going to be tough for him to get through this Mercedes opposition. Daniel Juncker missed track activity yesterday. He wasn't feeling very well, had food poisoning, so Esteban Ocon took over the car. So in terms of mileage, the Spaniard's a little bit short this weekend. But Ekström is still doing his level best to get up the order. He is in 17th place at the moment, and Mortara even worse off. He's behind him. He's in 18th spot.
On board with Wehrlein, who's still not able to find a way past the BMW of Martin Tomczyk. P13 is Wehrlein, P12 is Martin Tomczyk.
And again, there's a clash between them. Outside line into the Spitzkehrer. And now Wehrlein gets the drive out of the corner. Now Vitoris behind will have to give way, I fear. He doesn't want to get past Wehrlein, so he slots dutifully back in behind his teammate. Timo Glock is there as well. Mortara, no further action for an investigated dangerous manoeuvre. In contact with Molina. And Juncker is still defending from Ekström, who's got Mortara tucked up behind him. Glock giving a hard time to Vitoris further up the road.
So it's these battles that are going on here that are of crucial importance.
As far as Wehrlein is concerned, the job is half done.
Yes,
as long
it
as
is.
He's ahead of the other two, and he's got some Mercedes around him to look after. It doesn't really matter if he's gaining places or not, as long as he's ahead of the others. So, up front, Timo Scheider leads by 1.6 seconds, and he's done the fastest lap of the race. Now, DRS is enabled, so that might just start to shuffle things a little bit, because you can get a benefit from being in the DRS zone against the car in front as they head over the timing line. So Wehrlein, for example, could use it against Tomczyk, but likewise Ekström can use it now to try and find a way past Juncker. But even if he does get by, it's still a very busy track up the road for Ekström, who loses out to Mortara, who goes charging past on the run up towards turn 2.
Edo Mortara then getting by Matthias Ekström. DRS deployed by Pascal Wehrlein as he runs right alongside Martin Tomczyk. This should be an easy move. Tomczyk, of course, without the benefit of DRS to defend, but Tomczyk will have DRS. Once Wehrlein goes past, Vitoris will try and go through as well and will act as a bit of a wingman for Pascal Wehrlein now.
Job done. And so Mortara is up past Juncker as well. Ekström comes up to have a go. Mortara looking the quicker of the two. It may even have been that Ekström, realising that Mortara is ahead of him in the championship, thought, well, OK, or he's been told to let Mortara go. We don't know for definite, because both still with a chance. Now, Martin has lost out to Jamie Green, so he's down to 3rd, and he's got De Resta all over him. What's going on with Maxime Martin's car? It is fading, isn't it? As the race wears on, the lead he had initially is starting to drop away. And the Audis up front, potentially now, changing strategy, because they don't have to worry about helping Mortara or Ekström. They're too far back. So
yes.
Now, push, 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 says Dieter Gas. Let's get as many of the other Audis up at the front as we can, thinking about manufacturers and teams championships.
Absolutely. So in comes Bruno Spengler for a drive-through penalty. Sure, if that wasn't perhaps a little bit harsh, really, because I don't think it was malicious, was it? I think it was just, you know, he wasn't able to turn in. It was clumsy more than deliberate, wasn't it?
But it did spoil Tombé's race, and therefore, to sort of balance things out, so Spengler's race is now spoiled. The emotions in the Mercedes garage there, Wolfgang Schattling and Toto Wolff looking on. Wolfgang Schattling, who ran last year's DTM operation. He's hardly been seen this year, but interesting that he's here for the last round. Now, Scheider's got this monster lead. Jamie Green stacking them all up behind now. Look, there's a long, long line of cars. Now, it's not yet benefiting Mortara, is it? Because he's still trying to work his way into contention. Mortara's next target is Glock, and this is how Jamie Green made the pass. Used the DRS up towards the hairpin at the Spitzkehrer. Martin up the curb on the inside, but Jamie Green able to get the drive out of the corner, and that's another reason, unfortunately, that Martin is, in quotes, fading, because he's giving all of these toes now to people in the DRS zone, and he's losing out because of it. Great battle that they've enjoyed. Wehrlein versus Tomczyk. That was how the Mercedes eventually went through, and again, you can see the rear wing drops there, so the DRS coming into play. Opinions are divided on DRS, aren't they?
Yes, I think what was crucial there was Christian Vittoris as well, because that's just acted as a protection tool for him, hasn't it? Timo Scheider, way up the road, isn't he? 4.1 seconds over Jamie Green, who's in P2. Maxime Martin holding on to P3 at the moment, but under pressure from Paul de Resta, who's P4. Mike Rockenfeller is 5, then it's Tom Blomqvist, then we see Wittmann, Felix da Costa, Gertz, before we see Wehrlein P10 now. And we're on board with Matthias Ekström, who has the Eduardo Mortara car ahead of him now. And here comes Martin Tomczyk on Lucas Auer. And there you can just see the Eduardo Mortara and Matthias Ekström car in that gaggle as well. They've got 2 BMWs and a Mercedes-Benz ahead of them. Edo Mortara desperately trying to get up the order. Matthias Ekström, of course, doing the same. At the moment, they're running P15 and P16. Pascal Wehrlein is P10. Lucas Auer on Tomczyk there through the hairpin. They are side by side, but Tomczyk has got the drive. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara behind Timo Glock. And up right alongside Timo Glock now. Timo Glock with the right line through that turn, but Eduardo Mortara now tries to dive up the inside. So Eduardo Mortara, and Edo Mortara runs so wide. Carries the momentum though. Still gets back in ahead of Matthias Ekström, but is still behind Timo Glock.
So Mortara stays ahead of Ekström, which might be team orders.
Yes, I think.
You know, I thought Ekström would have had a real go there, but he looked rather dutiful in staying behind. The incident, by the way, between Paffett and Molina is being reported to the stewards, so they'll have a look post-race. If any action is to be taken, it could be a grid drop for tomorrow. So over the timing line goes Mortara. He's running in 15th place now. Ekström tucked up behind him. And where is Wehrlein? Wehrlein is in the points now.
Yes.
Wehrlein is up into the top 10. And 9th ahead of him is Max Gertz. So there's another place to be gained.
Yes.
Suddenly life is looking a lot better for Wehrlein, isn't it?
Well, Max Gertz was certainly helpful to Pascal Wehrlein at the Nürburgring. You will recall, I'm sure. Don't doubt that that will be the case today as well. Marco Wittmann and Tom Blomqvist there, and Antonio Felix da Costa. Before we see the Gertz car, and there it is. And there, just into the back of the picture, it comes Pascal Wehrlein, who is in the points and running in P10. So Marco Wittmann is currently P6 with Tom Blomqvist behind him now. We're on board with Pascal Wehrlein. Look of focus and concentration through the crash helmet, as you can see, as he guides his Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, Glock and Mortara.
Well, that's done for Mortara.
It has. It helps Ekström, and Mortara knows there's the resignation inside the car. The championship dream has gone. He's had a puncture and had to fight back. What triggered it, we don't yet know. We'll get a replay, I'm sure. So Ekström now gets up the pack, and look, Ekström is ahead of Auer as well. So suddenly Ekström now is in a much better position. Mortara has gone. Here's what happened. So Auer gets up the inside of Glock, and Mortara tries to follow him through contact. Hard to apportion blame for that, but Glock was ahead. But Ekström gains 1, 2, and then a 3rd place. So suddenly life has improved for Ekström. He's up into 13th spot now. If he can get into the points, blimey. And Mortara so frustrated, even before Glock has finished spinning. He knows the chances are gone now.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's hard to apportion blame there. I think it was probably a clumsy chance, wasn't it? But
yeah.
Desperation.
It's being investigated, but can you really apportion blame? Well, we'll see. So Timo Scheider leads the way by 4 seconds now. Jamie Green has got Maxime Martin right up behind him, and a drive-through penalty for Mortara for pushing another car. Well, there you go. That's blame apportioned pretty quickly.
Yeah, very much so.
Jamie Green, of course, just to go back to this battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, now, because he can't get away from Maxime Martin, is in a sense, helping him because the BMW is within DRS, and so too is Paul di Resta in 4th place. Then it's Mike Rockenfeller next in the queue. Then it is Wittmann, then Blomqvist, and then Antonio Felix da Costa ahead of 9th Gertz, and their 10th champion-elect, Pascal Wehrlein. 18 minutes plus a lap still to go. Wehrlein hard at work as he comes then up towards the completion of the lap. Timo Scheider goes through, works his way then down towards turn 1. 180 kilometres an hour on the approach to the first corner, and then accelerate up towards turn 2. Again, that tight right, heavy braking there. That's Wehrlein on his own. Now, how far back is he from Gertz? He's 4.3 seconds, and at the moment, Gertz is lapping quicker.
Yes, at the moment.
Meantime, Ekstrom, he says, has done a personal best lap. So Matthias Ekstrom, as ever, throwing everything at this, but ruining his bad start and, of course, ruining the fact that he was knocked into a spin. And although Robert Wickens has had a drive-through, that doesn't really put Ekstrom back up the order.
No, and that's always the case, isn't it? OK, the championship prediction, as you can see on screen. And we look at Jamie Green, who, of course, is having to defend against the DRS-enabled Maxime Martin, and DRS-enabled Paul di Resta, and DRS-enabled Mike Rockenfeller as well.
And then Wittmann is doing the same to Blomqvist and da Costa and Gertz. And there, Ekstrom in the background, I thought I saw just get past Tomczyk for 12th place. So Matthias Ekstrom will check at the end of the lap, but as he was diving down towards the Mercedes Tribune, going through turn 7, it looked to me as though the Red Bull-backed Audi, the Ab Sportsline car, had got through past the BMW. So another spot gained by Ekstrom, but it's still not enough. He's got to be ahead of Wehrlein.
Well, you're right. From our commentary positions, we look into the Mercedes-Benz garage. I can see that, indeed, Ekstrom did get past. But, as you say, it's still not enough, is it?
I mean, Matthias Ekstrom, we've seen it a lot in the last couple of years. He's able to produce these amazing drives from a pretty bleak starting point, whether it's the back of the grid or a spin early on. But if only, sometimes he would qualify better, and, you know, that bad start cost him 4 or 5 places, which in turn wouldn't have put him in jeopardy and put the Wickens incident there. Out of the Spitzkehrer, tighter line, gets the drive out of the corner. Remember, the Audi much heavier than the BMW. But now perhaps the tyres are working better. We've got Mortara coming into the pit lane, I fear, to retire. We've got Wickens coming in to serve his drive-through. Sad way for Mortara's championship hopes to end. Tell you a lie, it's not to retire, it's his drive-through, isn't it? Because that was after Timo Glock, apologies. So Mortara goes back into the race, but he does it with a rather heavy heart, by the look of it.
The second time, of course, he's been down the pit lane. One, of course, to repair that punctured tyre, and second time for that drive-through penalty as we watch Jamie Green continuing his stoic defence against Maxime Martin, and Martin also against Paul di Resta. Those positions haven't changed, and Mike Rockenfeller just on the periphery of that little battle as well. There is Paul di Resta then in the Mercedes-Benz running in P4.
So ahead of Ekstrom now, 3 Mercedes. There's no Audi help around there.
No.
Unless, and this is the problem, a sacrificial Audi helps Ekstrom, but because Ekstrom is behind Wehrlein, you're helping Wehrlein as well.
Yes.
So you're not actually gaining anything. Because of the dramas early on that have affected both of the Audis, even though the grid position was not very inspiring, Pascal Wehrlein now has very much got one hand on that Champions Trophy. It needs some disaster to befall him, and he's pretty safe at the moment. You know, he's 3.4 seconds behind a Mercedes and 3.3 ahead. He's running on his own. He's ahead of the opposition. He can just cruise this round to the checkered flag and take the championship.
Yes. So there is Matthias Ekstrom, who, as you have said, seems extraordinary, doesn't it? When the chips are down, he can turn in some incredible driving.
Yeah, I mean, he's just done the absolute best in the first sector of anybody in the race. So if you think that he's given up, think again.
Right.
But if only he hadn't made a bad start. You know, if only he'd qualified that little bit better. Granted, he was saying on the radio early on in the race that there was no grip in the tyre and it was like driving on ice.
Yep.
The car may even have got a bit of damage still, and there's a legacy of that in the way that it's behaving after the contact from earlier. But Ekstrom doing everything he can, but for as long as Wehrlein is ahead of him, it's not enough.
No. No, absolutely futile.
Unless Rockenfeller, who is 5th, were to be sacrificed to fall back and really block Wehrlein, that the gap between Wehrlein to Ekstrom is something like 7 seconds. But he wouldn't be able to block for long enough before the officials jumped on him with the blue flags.
So there is Matthias Ekstrom then chasing for all he is worth, but I fear that you're absolutely right. It's probably futile because at the moment Pascal Wehrlein is in such a protected position in P10 with Gertz ahead of him by 3 seconds and quite rightly Christian Vittoris behind.
And so at the moment what you've got within the leading 9 certainly is a pure race because nobody is helping anybody else because they can't really do so, nor do they need to at the moment. Whether Gertz would give up a place for Wehrlein, well, he doesn't need to from Mercedes' point of view. Let's see if we can catch up on Robert Wickens' travails in that race. He's a retirement, he's with Verena.
Yeah, Robert is here with me, obviously very disappointed. How do you comment your drive-through penalty?
Yeah, well, first off, it all went wrong when Pascal went off the track in turn 2. I don't know why, but when he was rejoining, I was stuck in the middle and it broke the front diffuser on my car. And then after that, I was struggling a lot in braking with bouncing and the car touching and everything. And yeah, so just a bad day.
So basically nothing you could do.
I mean, yeah, I couldn't avoid the contact. Pascal was coming on the track really aggressively and I had nowhere I could go but to either hit him or hit the car beside me. So I went to not hit him. And yeah, unfortunately, it did enough damage to wreck my race.
Thank you very much. Very honest there, so back to you guys.
Well, that was a different question you answered, wasn't it? Nothing to do with him going into Ekstrom. It was all about how he got his damage. And the reason that Wehrlein was off the track was he was avoiding somebody else's incident.
Yes.
Robert Wickens, who we've heard from quite a lot as a grumpy early race retirement this year, is out. Just to prove the pace of people recovering, Ekstrom still doing absolute best sectors. Timo Glock doing absolute best sectors as well now as he tries to get himself back into the mix. But Timo Scheider, who has not had a win since Adria in 2010 in his championship-winning year, second championship-winning year, leads the way by 4.7 seconds. So after a very, very barren few years, Timo Scheider reminding people that he can still do the job.
May I make a point? Maximilian Gertz is now a clear 1 second slower than Pascal Wehrlein. Make of that what you will, Mr. Addison.
I can see Wehrlein gaining a place before the end, and I can see Mortara heading down the pit lane. And this time I fear it is the end of the day for a very, very frustrated Eduardo Mortara. So, championship prediction, Mortara is indeed a retirement, and Wehrlein, if things stay as they are, is going to be DTM champion by the end of the next 10 minutes and change plus 1 lap. So Mortara, who came into this race as the best place of the Audi drivers, he's had a puncture, he's had contact, he's had a drive-through penalty, and out of the race.
And you can see that resignation on his face. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, some races, you just know it's not your day. Meantime, Wehrlein getting closer to Gertz.
And again, last lap around, clear second between them. So Maximilian Gertz playing the game.
Yeah. And he doesn't need to. I mean, from Mercedes' point of view, they could leave things as they are.
Use DRS on Maxi, use DRS on Maxi.
He is using DRS, the wing drop, so they still want him to get as high up the order as possible. So keep pushing, Pascal, is the message. And he will close on Maxi Gertz, and close, and here comes the move up at the Spitzkehrer. Gertz lets him go.
So Pascal Wehrlein gains another place then. Now has the effective protection of 2 Mercedes-Benz cars behind him now.
Ekstrom in the meantime is still 12th, and he's closing on Christian Vittoris. And Wehrlein makes a mistake, runs wide. Gertz with his flapping door still, and they can see it early on in the race. He slots back in behind him. Good at least to see Gertz running in the top 10. Pace is there, and look behind, because Vittorius is being reeled in by Ekstrom. That's going to be quite an interesting little battle, that, to see how long it takes Ekstrom to wriggle away by, because they're coming down towards the Sachs curve, and now Edo Mortara stalks up the pit lane, keeping his crash helmet on, which is always a sign I do not want anybody to come and talk to me. So Scheider leads by 5 seconds effectively now.
7 laps to go, Pascal, 7 laps to go.
And Wehrlein is 9th. The next 2-3 cars indeed up the road are BMW, so there's no help to be expected from them.
Only 3.9 seconds, 3.9 to Da Costa. Last lap Da Costa, 35.3.
Wehrlein clearly wants as many places as he can get out of this.
Sector 1 was equal, 3.9 seconds. You're doing a brilliant job. Keep your concentration high. 7 more laps to go.
They're not just prepared to settle for position here, are they? Maybe this is the best way to keep a guy focused and motivated, let him keep on pushing. Here comes Ekstrom versus Vittorius. Can Ekstrom get the undercut? Yes, he can! He's up the curb! He's into the side of the Mercedes! And I'm coming through, says Matthias Ekstrom. So he's gained the position. He has a quick look in the mirror. Where's he gone? Where's he gone? He's gone behind. So Ekstrom is up into 11th position. As we keep on saying, when the chips are down, Ekstrom does everything he can. And but for that POC start, he'd be even higher up the order.
In fairness, as we see it in replay, he was always going to have to be absolutely aggressive in that move, wasn't he? He's got to make it stick.
That's a proper touring car move, though.
Yes.
Curb and all, elbows out. But if he hadn't made a bad start, he wouldn't have been where he was relative to Robert Wickens. So therefore, it's likely to assume that there wouldn't have been that contact and the spin. And Ekstrom, just like last year, is going to go down fighting.
Yes, he is. Not giving up until the very end, and that's great to see. But as you've quite rightly said, was it not for that botched start, so much further up the order. In the meantime, there is Pascal Wehrlein, who, with just 6.5 minutes plus 1 lap to race, it'll be his DTM championship, won't it? And, well, none of us necessarily expected it would be done today, but it looks that way at the moment. Some replays of just how hard he is still pushing. The engineers, of course, keeping on to him to remain utterly focused in the closing stages of this. From earlier on, the battle with Martin Tomczyk. Oh, so brutal and aggressive between the two of them. Pascal initially having to run wide to avoid the turned around Adrien Tombe car.
Now, meanwhile, on track, as Mercedes are pretty content with life, there is still a battle royal going on for second place in the race. Jamie Green has got Maxime Martin and Paul de Resta right on the back of him. Bruno Spengler's championship hopes come to an end as well, and that retirement could be significant for BMW within the Manufacturers' Championship. We'll catch up on that post-race. The leader now, Timo Scheider, is 5 seconds ahead of Green, who has got Martin and de Resta right with him. There is Scheider out on his own in splendid isolation, but Green, Martin and de Resta are behind. Then a lonely 5th is Mike Rockenfeller, who's not got anybody to battle against. 6th is Wittmann, ahead of Blomqvist. Then is Da Costa, and a gap back to Wehrlein, 9th. Let's hear from Eduardo Mortara with Verena now.
I'm here with a very, very obviously disappointed Eduardo Mortara. Edo, you came into the race as a best Audi and the second best in the championship. Then you had really bad luck with a puncture and then a drive-through penalty. So I guess the dream of the championship is over for you. What's going through your head right now?
For sure, it's not the best day I had, and I mean, my chances were over after the first turn when I had contact with Miguel, and it's with the teammate on top of it, so it makes it even, a little bit more bitter. But in the end, you know, and after also I had a mistake. I did a mistake with Timo, and I spun him, so it was a complete race to forget, to be honest.
Right, then, thank you very much, Edo, and back to you.
Bonus point for Edo Mortara for holding his hands up, saying
Absolutely.
it was my mistake, and admitting it was his mistake that caused the incident between him and Timo Glock. But yes, the clash we saw on the first lap with Miguel Molina will be one discussed, I'm sure, this evening at Audi HQ. There'll be two different sides to the story, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So So that's what's down to Mortara's chances, and it was a bad start, plus Robert Wickens and the contact and the spin afterwards that's done for Matthias Ekström. So Pascal Wehrlein is 9th. He had to be ahead of them all anyway, irrespective of where they finished to win the championship. He has done that, and he will be the only one of the championship contenders to score points in the race. In other words, the gap widens. It's actually played out perfectly.
It has, and well, we didn't expect that to be the case, as we mentioned just a little while ago.
1.2 seconds, 1.2 seconds gap.
We hear from his engineer. And there, all the stats beneath the drivers' names, as you can see. Extraordinarily, Matthias Ekström with a 1:34.512. Look, his fastest lap, 3/10 quicker than Pascal Wehrlein, but it's all academic, isn't it?
You could argue that Ekström had more to do and therefore had to wring everything out of the car. It's also a fraction lighter, but Pascal Wehrlein is on target for the DTM Championship. He has got one title to his name, which is the ADAC Formula Masters Series back in 2011, the Junior Single-Seater Championship as was. Wehrlein not 100% happy with life in the cockpit, but he's heading for a crown. You can see the focus, you can see the concern even.
Yeah.
Now there's the man he's chasing, Antonio Felix da Costa, and Wehrlein has done a ripper job of bringing down that gap because he's absolutely stormed after him, and this, of course, is BMW versus
I was going to say, Antonio Felix da Costa hasn't been helping him, that's for sure. No. But, you know, with 2 minutes and a bit plus 1 lap to run, surely he's not going to attack Antonio Felix da Costa too hard, because it would be, well...
If it works, he's a hero. If it doesn't, he'd look a bit silly, wouldn't he? So,
How interesting.
I think they concur with you, Dave Richardson. Yeah. So the leaders have gone by. We've got the gap down, incidentally, between the top two. Scheider to Green is now down to 4.6 seconds, and Wehrlein is inching up onto the back of da Costa. Da Costa, he says, offering a rather tangential thought, drives a BMW sponsored by
yes,
Red Bull. Matthias Ekström drives an Audi sponsored by
yes.
Surely not. Surely not. Manufacturer team orders are one thing. The drink manufacturer team orders are quite another, I'm sure. But da Costa has certainly been caught, and now Wehrlein needs to make a good, clean pass. If the move isn't there, if it's not 100% short, don't go for it. There's one, he's just started now within the time, so 2 more laps to run. Wehrlein has got 2 laps in which to try and get past da Costa cleanly.
Or play safe. You know, he's not going to be troubled from behind, because who's he got behind? Maximilian Goertz. Uli Fritz then, you can imagine the worry that's going through him at the moment. And, well, Antonio Felix da Costa has gapped him just a little bit now, hasn't he?
Yeah, and Goertz has clawed back into contention, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Now there, look behind, is Ekström, who is in 11th place. The gap between Goertz and Ekström is 3 seconds, 1 lap and a half to go.
Careful, Pascal.
Unless da Costa suddenly lost about 4 seconds a lap, they're not going to bunch up enough, and Wehrlein's even thinking about making the move. If this were the 1 hour race, it would be a little bit different maybe for Ekström's chances. Da Costa goes out wide. Goertz will have to back out of that to avoid passing Wehrlein, who gets up the inside now, and the place may well be his. It is his. He's done it. He's gained another spot. So Wehrlein is going to win the DTM Championship for the first time in his career by attacking right the way through the race. And you've got to say that is one of the best ways you could win a championship.
Absolutely, fair play to him. And now Maximilian Goertz is having to go at Antonio Felix da Costa as well. But now he has got past da Costa. Wehrlein is certainly up the road, isn't he? Heading towards the DTM title, Pascal Wehrlein. There's our race leader, Timo Scheider, who starts the last lap now. P2 is Jamie Green. P3 is Maxime Martin. Then it is Paul di Resta, P4, and Mike Rockefeller, as you can see. 2 BMWs together there, Marco Wittmann and Tom Blomqvist, P6 and P7. But P8 is going to be Pascal Wehrlein with 1 lap left to run.
So Wehrlein rounds turn 1 for the final time. Ekstrom is now only half a second back, and that is Timo Glock, who is off the circuit. It's the last lap of the race. That I don't think he's going to do very much, because they should be able to cover that with a yellow and get to the checkered flag. But Timo Scheider reminds people that he's not forgotten how to drive.
There's Glock in the Sachs corner in the gravel bed.
So that means there's a yellow flag zone further up the road that Wehrlein will have to think about. Ekstrom could break into the top 10 on the last lap, but that will not be enough unless Wehrlein were to not finish the race. And with half a lap to go, Wehrlein is champion-elect. There's a yellow flag in the final few corners.
Turn 13, yellow flag in the Sachs. Just a few more corners, Pascal.
And Timo Scheider is into the stadium. He's going to have his first win since Adria 2015. Scheider has managed to escape. He's left everybody behind him.
Turn that he's got to do before he will become the youngest ever DTM champion.
DTM champion. Thanks for this year. You did it.
Huge delight inside the car.
Congratulations. Enjoy the in-lap. It was a pleasure. Enjoy the in-lap, but don't forget the pickup. Man, you did it.
And Pascal Wehrlein has all the emotion, delight, relief, joy, and well done, Pascal, says Mercedes.
Thank you. The whole team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We did it. Yeah.
Marco Wittmann for BMW a year ago, Pascal Wehrlein for Mercedes, another young gun in the DTM.
Outstanding. One team.
Toto Wolff is a very happy man. Nico Rosberg is due here this weekend, I think tomorrow. And, Euro Series came into the DTM in 2013. He was 22nd. He was 8th last year, and now he is the champion. The man from Vorndorf then receives the applause of the fans. And it has been a very good season indeed for Pascal Wehrlein. He has taken 2 race wins on his way to winning the championship. And Mercedes as well, back at the top of the championship table, because Mercedes last year had a disappointing season. Yes, there were some wins, but the team, the brand, the car has made a great step forward this year.
One team, one vision, one champion. So says the banner that has been unveiled on the Baden-Württemberg Centre. As Pascal continues then in front of the crowd to do his donuts and celebrate his championship victory.
And go back to 2010, it wasn't just the last time Timo Scheider won a race, it was the last time a Mercedes driver was champion, because Paul de Resta was the last Mercedes champion in 2010. Since then we've had Audi, we've had BMW, but now we have Mercedes once more, and Pascal Wehrlein it is who is victorious, and he is making the most, understandably, of the run back into the pit lane. And when you heard on the radio a little while ago, don't forget the pickup, that's you see the drivers to go offline and pick up the marbles, the extra rubber that's
Mr. Wehrlein P8 was enough for the championship. There was Ekstrom P9, Maximilian Goertz P10. As well as you can imagine, all our focus is on our new champion. Let's not lose sight of the fact that Timo Scheider drove a supreme race. So there is Pascal Wehrlein, our youngest ever DTM champion. There's Jamie Green being congratulated, and
I was thinking, for the last 2 years, I've heard you say the youngest ever DTM champion. Where's it going to end?
Quite.
I know we get teenagers coming out of Formula 4 these days, but yes, it's a very different dynamic in the DTM. But dare we still refer to him as the old guard? People like Matthias Ekstrom can still deliver, can't they?
Absolutely, and you know, you made the point several times during the course of the race that you know, it seems to be always when the chips are down, we see the very, very best out of Matthias Ekstrom. And what a, you know, if that start had been different, as we see Timo Scheider take the checkered flag. A fine victory for him. P2 for Jamie Green, P3 for Maxime Martin. That was the race 1, 2, 3, of course. But we have been looking at the championship winning P8 position of Pascal Wehrlein, really.
And Ekstrom got 9th after all that. He got himself into the points on the last lap. He was, what, a second and a half back. He got himself into 9th spot because Goertz got past Acosta as well, and then Ekstrom got past the pair of them.
Look at him.
You know, he's done everything he could. Everything he could.
So Timo Scheider being congratulated there by Jamie Green. Here is the championship then after today's race, Pascal Wehrlein untouchable on 169 points, Matthias Ekstrom on 129, and Eduardo Mortara, who of course retired on 128 points. So that meant that Pascal Wehrlein had done enough and was going to become champion today. Timo Scheider, of course, successful racing driver. Oh, the T-shirts are out. I've always thought that's the one job that I think I really wouldn't want to do, is to almost make and take your chance in terms of making things like that. It's like the banner on the Baden-Württemberg Centre that was unveiled. And there is our new champion, Pascal Wehrlein. But of course, we'll be going to the podium. Timo Scheider, racing driver, made his rallycross debut a while ago, also runs a team in German F4 as well. And there he is on the top step. And it's been a jolly long while since he's been there. There's Jamie Green for P2.
He's had more race wins than anybody in the championship this year, but
yeah,
he isn't in that championship fight. And there is Maxime Martin, the pole position driver, who ends up third, frustrated with that, I'm sure. Phoenix Racing, the team that operates Timo Scheider's car, and Moser's team represented with Audi on the podium.
National anthem plays out for Timo Scheider. Let's hear from the new champion, Pascal Wehrlein.
Here he is, the new DTM champ. Congratulations, Pascal. But I've got to ask, you still seem so focused. Have you not quite realized it yet that you are the new champion?
I think I realized because we worked so hard the whole year, and you know, we came here with a big gap, but still 50 points to go. So we knew that if everything goes wrong and they win the races, we lost the championship. So you still have to be focused and concentrated and bring everything together. Today in qualifying it wasn't perfect. I missed the pole by 2/10 and I was P13. That was really surprising to me, but at the end I improved to P8 and everything is good.
You really, really fought so hard. I mean, from P13 all the way to P8. Was there any point during the race that you thought, ooh, this is getting tight?
No, because I knew that I have a good car, and the speed was good also in the race, so I could improve my positions. And at the end I overtook Da Costa, I think, and I could catch the other guys in front of me, and so you can see that there's more potential in the car for tomorrow.
And what went through your mind when you went through the finish line?
No, there's so much pressure on you. The whole team is working for you. So many people here on track, so many people back in the factory, and you know, this championship was a long time ago. We won it. So the whole team deserves it, and I was just very thankful to my whole team.
You really did a fantastic job. Thank you so much, Pascal. Congratulations, and now back to you guys.
Verena, well done, getting hold of the new champion as we see the aftermath, if you like, of the celebrations of Timo Scheider, Jamie Green and Maxime Martin up there. There's soaked and there's soaked, David.
And there's that chap.
Yes. He's been properly Scheidered, I think, hasn't he?
Well, it's been a long, long time since Timo's last victory. And Phoenix Racing busy not just, of course, with DTM, but also cars in Blancpain and VLN. Exposer's team celebrates, and Timo himself, don't forget, had to skip the Moscow weekend, part of his suspension after the incident at Spielberg, which did for that man, Pascal Wehrlein, because he was in the gravel as a result of it, but now he can proudly wear his champion's T-shirt. Norbert Haug there in the background, these days works for German television, but of course he was the architect of much of the Mercedes DTM success through the Bert Schneider era, through Paul de Resta's success, Gary Paffett's championship win as well. Let's hear from Maxime Martin, third place, he's with Verena.
Maxime, you started in pole position. It was a really, really tough race. However, third place, are you happy with that?
Yeah, of course, it's a podium. It's a podium. You know, it's always nice to be there. But for sure, from starting from pole, I was hoping for a bit more. But the pace from the Audis in the race was too fast for me. But yeah, at the end, I secure a nice podium for BMW. So we keep it.
All right then. Thank you so much, Maxime. Back to you.
Frustrating though for Maxime Martin that, because as you see the celebrations for Pascal Wehrlein, if he'd have been able to get away out of that DRS zone, as it were, to not give them a tow, he'd have been all right. Matthias Ekström goes over to congratulate Pascal Wehrlein, and the Mercedes guys all very, very happy indeed. And Matthias, double champion himself, appreciates the effort that has been put in to win the championship. It's not won or lost on just that one race. In fairness, you take the whole season into account. There were days when Matthias was very impressive indeed. There were days where Pascal was very impressive indeed. And over the course of the season, it goes Pascal's way. Jamie Green, though, of course, was a winner here at the start of the year. He's not in the championship fight, but he was second in the race, and he's with Verena.
And he fought so hard, coming from 5th place to 2nd place. I mean, it really was a tough race, but you did so well. So how happy are you to be back in the podium with the 2nd place?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. You know, from 5th on the grid, it's always nice to go forward. It's not easy in DTM to overtake, so yeah, really happy with the start. I gained places there. Then I had a bit of contact with Di Resta. I was a bit wide at turn 1, but managed to hold on to 3rd. And then later I could overtake Maxime. So yeah, it was pretty hard work, you know, staying in front with DRS, because here you gain about 6/10 having DRS, and he was always in that window. So, you know, it was pretty hard work for me just to hang on to 2nd, but yeah, good race.
Definitely. Congratulations, and now back to you.
Interesting, isn't it? Right at the start of the season, I think both you and I would have said he's shoe-in for potential championship material this year, but just didn't go his way.
No, he had that bad run in the summer. I mean, at the Red Bull Ring, for example, in the first race, the equivalent race, the Saturday race, he was leading at the end of lap 1, and he had this electronic gearbox problem. And that ruined it, absolutely, completely ruined it. And that would have been a race, I think, that he'd have been hard to catch, because he had a lead. He'd built that on the first lap, and it just did not go his way. But Pascal Wehrlein's celebrations have already got underway. The photo shoot is being orchestrated. Everybody, Gary Paffett there, you see, is in a Team Vision champion T-shirt. Gary, a retirement from the race, but he's been a loyal servant to Mercedes, hasn't he? Yes. And his chance of winning some more races can't be far away. He's done the hard yards, developing parts and trying to make the car be more competitive. It won't be long, I think, before Gary is in a position where he can challenge for wins again. But the new champion is Pascal Wehrlein, and you can see just how much that means.
Even Peter Mucker joining in on the very right-hand side of the picture there.
And he goes to congratulate Pascal Wehrlein. Now, don't forget Timo Schade in all of this, because he has been a race winner in style, and he's with Verena.
And you did such a brilliant job. Congratulations. Isn't it lovely at the end of the season to really show, hey, I am back, look at me, first place victory. How does it feel, Timo?
Well, to be honest, it's awesome, because we have had a season with so many downs and so much trouble and bad moments. And really also after racing the weekends at home, the race in Moscow, where I had to be at home, this was really, really tough from my point of view. And in the end of the day, congratulations to Pascal. He deserved the title in the end. But for my personal feeling, I'm really proud for this one, because it's the final race of the season. Proud for Team Phoenix. And yeah, I can tell you it's nice to be on the top of the podium.
But you still have a race tomorrow as well.
Yes, definitely. So good to know that we have a good package. We had it in the pre-practice, in qualifying and race. So let's hope for the next one.
You can't complain. All right, well, congratulations, enjoy, and back to you guys.
Well, Timo very happy about taking that win, and deservedly so. He drove a great race, and well, apologies if we've focused really rather too much on Pascal Wehrlein's championship win from P8, but of course, clearly he becomes the champion, but Timo Scheider taking the race win from Jamie Green and Maxime Martin. As the celebrations for our new youngest ever DTM champion continue as he's held aloft down there with the delight finally sinking in to the 2015 DTM champion Pascal Wehrlein.
And of course, as we keep making the point, there is another race to go tomorrow.
Yes,
so
there is.
There'll be more celebrations, I think, where the whole weekend's work is done. But a proper champion's drive, that. Okay, he may not have won the race, but he didn't just settle for points. He kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And even when there were cars ahead that he didn't have to overtake,
he still was going to, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, you make that very good point. So, in there amongst the mix is our new champion. There's Uli Fritz, once again being congratulated. He, of course, has had to engineer everything for the teams, and he'll be delighted. Okay, back to Verena now.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, what a fantastic race today. We have a new DTM champ, the youngest of all times. Pascal Wehrlein really did do a phenomenal job, and it's his birthday tomorrow, so he really has his present already today. That is absolutely amazing what he did here. Very, very astonishing. And tomorrow he can just enjoy the ride, if you will, because tomorrow is going to be 60 minutes of celebration for Pascal Wehrlein. So look forward to the race tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye. Here are the highlights.